Turning now to a key primary battle that we've been following on the show. Next week, Democrats in Manhattan will choose their candidate to replace retiring Congressman Jerry Nadler in New York's deep blue 12th congressional district, with early voting already underway. The Democratic primary features a crowded field of candidates, including 2 New York State Assembly members, Jack Schlossberg, the grandson of John F. Kennedy, and George Conway, a vocal Trump critic who was married to a former Trump advisor. The race has also attracted tens of millions of dollars in spending from super PACs backed by artificial intelligence companies, as well as former New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg. And joining me now is Laura Dunn, one of the candidates in that race. Laura, thank you so much for being here. And as we mentioned, many of your opponents in this race do have big name recognition and big financial backing. So what's been your strategy to stand out in this crowded field?
Well, thanks so much for having me on. The men are getting a lot of attention, but I'm someone who has the most federal policy and legislative experience of any candidate. So that's what I've been telling voters on the ground, that I helped draft and pass the 2013 Violence Against Women Act. I did that as a victim advocate. I actually went office to office in the Capitol, Democrat and Republicans alike, and advocated for 2 years in law school to pass that legislation. I then worked on the rulemaking committee, advised White House task forces, even clerked on the Senate Judiciary, and did some policy work for both Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton's campaign. So I'm out there telling voters I had the experience to lead on day one. I may not have all the money, but that's actually a good thing, because we don't want dark money in this race. We don't want super PACs. We don't want billionaires. We want people who fight for you and I, the middle class, the working class.
Well, one of the big questions for Democrats, if they do take back the House, is whether they should impeach President Trump. You've said that that should be a day one priority. Here's what Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries said about impeachment on Meet the Press Sunday. Let's play that.
Do you agree if Democrats take back the House, will you move to impeach President Trump?
We haven't ruled anything in or ruled anything out in terms of accountability. What we have said is that our focus is going to be to make life more affordable for the American people.
Laura, what do you make of his answer?
I have heard Mr. Jeffries kind of speak out against impeachment as a top priority, and that's a shame. I'm the accountability candidate. I'm fighting for congressional term limits, ending insider trading, ethical standards to the Supreme Court, and of course, removing Donald Trump and his administration, who have violated the Constitution, who have disrespected the rule of law. The world is watching, and we have to remember, if Trump stays in his position, he's going to try to veto everything that the Senate and the House does. And I'm hoping that both of those will be blue after November. So it has to be a top priority. And I'm really disappointed that candidates like Michael Lasher have said this is an impossibility, that this is a fantasy world. That's unacceptable. We have to hold the line. And that's something I'll do in Congress as someone who's already sued Donald Trump in my civil rights work.
Well, let me just push back on that and ask you what you would say to the argument that some make that impeachment could only embolden President Trump and his supporters, as we saw the last time it happened.
Well, impeachment is step one, right? The House impeaches and then the Senate convicts. And the question really isn't the impeachment, it's the conviction. Can we get the Senate to be more bipartisan and really stand for the Constitution and not keep playing these political games? And I think the answer is yes. We saw during the TSA issue with funding, a bipartisan Senate come together. When FISA was going to be renewed, we saw a bipartisan Senate come together. I think Donald Trump is getting weakened. I think the MAGA base is moving away. Everyone's disgusted by the amount of money being wasted on reflection pools, the war, you name it. And I don't think he's nearly as powerful. It's time to tell the emperor he has no clothes.
Well, this primary has kind of turned into a proxy fight between AI companies who are pouring millions into the race, which started with that super PAC connected to OpenAI, which was spending on attacks against State Assemblymember Alex Boris, who has advocated for more guardrails on AI companies. What do you make of these companies getting involved in the race the way they are right now?
I really view that issue as a Trojan horse. Alex Boris has taken money from the head of Anthropic, from crypto funders. He actually has a lot of overlap with Trump donors. And so I actually think it's a fake kind of fight. He went from Palantir to Anthropic. He's big AI no matter what. He's actually gone against 4 different state assembly bills that were meant to have consumer protection. And that just raises a lot of questions in my mind. So I understand that there's a lot of money flooding in. That's not just against Alex Borez, that's for Michael Lasher, and it's for Alex Borez. And the challenge really is for New York voters to actually look at every person and their qualifications and not get caught up in the hype of marketing.
And the New York mayor has worked with the president on housing, among other issues, to find some kind of common ground. Could you see yourself working with President Trump to advance some of your priorities?
I will do whatever it takes to make sure that New Yorkers have more affordability. And the City of Yes project is an excellent one. I very much support my mayor and all that he's done. And it is about serving the constituents first and foremost and leaving the political games behind. That said, I still hope that Donald Trump is impeached. As a lawyer, I have seen his disrespect for the Constitution and rule of law, and our economy will not survive if that continues.
Laura Dunn, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.